So I've been able to use the Pro Display XDR for about 6 months now, and in this video, I'm going to tell you if it's still worth it in 2026. And the answer may surprise you. Hello everyone, my name is Colt Randleman. I am a nature and wildlife photographer, so I spend hours color correcting photos and videos. With that in mind, let me tell you how this monitor performed. Apple's Pro Display XDR came out in 2019 and was discontinued in 2026. Luckily, I was able to scoop one up before it was ever discontinued, and I've been daily driving it for the last 6 months. The display is essentially one solid block of aluminum with a piece of glass slapped on the front of it, which does two things. Makes the monitor look and feel extremely premium while also making it extremely heavy. The Pro Display XDR weighs in at just under 17 pounds by itself, and that's just the monitor. If you add the optional Pro stand with it, it comes into just about 26 pounds for this monitor alone. So if you already have a desk that's full of stuff, or you just don't have a very sturdy desk, you might want to be questioning if this is the right monitor for you. Apple does include the option to VESA mount your monitor for an additional price. You have to buy their proprietary VESA mount adapter though. The back of the display features an iconic cheese grater design. This is to help with cooling because this monitor can reach a peak brightness of 1600 nits in HDR mode. And that's essentially the specialty of this monitor. It's quite literally built into the name of it. That's what the XDR in Pro Display XDR stands for. Extreme Dynamic Range. The Pro Display XDR on paper has some amazing specs. 500 nits sustained brightness in SDR mode, 1000 nits of sustained brightness in HDR mode, and then 1600 nits of peak HDR brightness in HDR mode. It has true 10-bit color accuracy, a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, and a 6K display. But how do these numbers actually translate to real-world usage? For starters, I mainly use my monitor in a light-controlled room, and so only having 500 nits of brightness is not a big deal to me at all. And I've never had any issues with glare or reflections. For reference, about 500 nits of brightness is what you find on many IPS panels today, high-end OLED panels, or even TVs. So it's pretty much industry standard. This is also the max brightness of most MacBook monitors today. So if you have a MacBook monitor prior to 2024, you'll be completely fine. Being able to have a very bright monitor helps me edit photos and videos super accurately. That way, what I deliver to my viewers is exactly what I envisioned it being. But there's another thing that's just as important as brightness, and that's color accuracy. The Pro Display XDR features a true 10-bit color accuracy panel. And believe it or not, this is incredibly difficult to find on most monitors today. It's kind of sort of like a lost technology. Most monitors today have what's called 8-bit FRC. So in a standard 8-bit monitor, you have 256 shades of blue, 256 shades of green, and 256 shades of red that can all be displayed on the monitor. When all of this is multiplied together, that gives you an average about 16.7 million colors. Whereas a true 10-bit panel takes each individual shade from 256 to 1024. And when all of this is multiplied together, this gives you over 1 billion colors that can be displayed on your screen. But the way that this really works in the real world is when you're editing footage or photos that have a lot of color, you're able on a 10-bit monitor to see more of the actual color in the image versus an 8-bit monitor. And in the transition between the shades of color, it's a lot easier. A lot of the problems that you'll see on 8-bit monitors is what's called color banding, when the colors start to look blotchy. But with a true 10-bit monitor, the colors just flow seamlessly. For my photography and my videography, knowing that I have the right colors is extremely important. Alright, now let's move on to contrast. While the contrast on this monitor is amazing, because Apple has 576 local array dimming zones put into this monitor, Apple also claims that it's a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio. However, there are some tests online that kind of show that this is different from what the actual number is. At a quick glance, this monitor gives you an OLED-like look, such as deep blacks, vibrant colors, But when you're starting to watch this monitor in a dark room, things start to fall apart pretty quickly. Because of the local array dimming zones being only 500 of them, you notice a lot of blooming around the object that you're trying to watch if it's against a dark background. When I first noticed this, it kind of made me feel like my eyes were super hazy or blurry. That's probably the best way I can describe it. However, having that deep contrast when editing photos and videos that are high contrast scenes makes it an absolute breeze. Since most cell phone panels today are OLED, knowing the contrast that I do see on my screen whenever I edit my photos and videos are going to be the exact same thing that you see on your phone is huge. One big selling point of the Apple Pro Display XDR is the 6K resolution. To me, this is one of the greatest features of the monitor. At 32 inches wide, 6K, it has a PPI of 218. This meets Apple's specifications for a Retina monitor. This means that all of the text that you read on your display will be crystal clear and sharp. Another thing to think about, if you're coming from a 4K monitor, that has about 8 million pixels on it, whereas a 6K screen has over 20 million pixels on it. This increases the work and the multitasking that you can do on the monitor in one page without it feeling cluttered by about 50%. Now, as almost perfect as I think that this monitor is, there are some negatives about it. For starters, this monitor has been discontinued, so it's incredibly hard to find unless you're looking on online marketplaces or your local marketplaces. And if you do find it online, oftentimes you're going to end up paying a premium because this is so highly sought after. So in many cases, you're ending up paying close to retail price for this monitor. Secondly, this monitor is only 60 Hz, which is fine for someone like me who does a bunch of content creation, watching videos casually. It's not a problem. But if you find that oftentimes you're doing online shopping or even gaming on this monitor, 60 Hz is going to fall way under, especially in today's time when there are many monitors that are over 720 Hz. Also, for such an expensive monitor, I really wish they would have included an HDMI port. This monitor is only connected by a Thunderbolt port. This means that if you want to use a monitor with a Windows computer, it's going to be incredibly difficult and it's going to take a bunch of different dongles and connectors just to get this monitor to work. And even then you lose out on a bunch of features, such as your HDR support, True Tone, and different monitor adjustments, just to name a few. Alright, so the final verdict is, if you are a content creator, I still would absolutely recommend this monitor. It has a timeless design, great specs still in 2026, over 7 years later, and it meets all of my daily needs. We also know that this monitor is going to be supported for a long time, as it was only just discontinued about 6 months ago. Apple has a long history of supporting their hardware and their firmware long after its lifespan. And again, it's super high quality, so I know that it'll last me years to come, and this is what made it a worth it investment for me. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think of everything. Let me know if you would pick up this monitor today. Also, if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see me review in the future, just leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an awesome day.